Hello, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. And now on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual, Aaron William Freeland. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
The mosquitoes are out early today. I was out there
Oh?
working on my deck, and I was getting bitten. They were going, yeah. So we dropped the tent trailer. So now it's just a box. We got to take down a bunch of tents, ones that we had up for the party that, well, I'm working on a deck, so it's a little bit, I'll get to the other part later. So yeah, it's an interesting time of year. It's still humid. For those of you that need to put stuff away for the winter or the fall or whatever, if you're waiting for it to dry, those days are running out. Stuff doesn't dry anymore. It gets wet and it stays wet. These aren't the dog days of summer when stuff dries. So first chance you get to put away stuff. If you can't put it away wet like the tent trailer, put it away.
No, it's that unfortunate shoulder season where everything is getting very close to getting brushed off. So you got to be careful about that.
Oh, now that's probably one of the most fantastic lines that you've ever used.
Why, thank you very much. We try.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to introduce you as Mr. Fantastic. Oh, wait a second. That there's actually, I can't do that because there is a Mr. Fantastic.
Yes,
right?
Marvel owns the name.
That's Fantastic Four. But there's also the guy in the commercials that with the Fantastic.
Right.
So they're all over the place. Let's get to the news and let's talk about what's going on in the world today, in and around us, folks. And of course, let's start with our Canadian Football League, which we'll always put first, most priority. Argos reach out to ex-Riders head coach Chris Jones. We talked about it today on CFL Talk. Give us your take.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that he would be coming back. I know I was watching your show with Dave earlier today, and he mentioned that he had quit his other job. So that seems to be a fairly solid indication that he would be coming back at the border. I did actually take a look, and some of the coaches that he is being purported to be replacing have actually been scrubbed from the website. So
absolutely,
they're no longer there. So that's now I don't know if Dave mentioned this on the other show, but it does appear that they've been put on leave, not necessarily terminated.
Yes.
So they could potentially be consulting, which is awesome.
Well, the way it may be, because you know that the cap is an issue, right? They can't. They're not fired, but they're on leave, which means they're not being paid. They're voluntarily leaving, and the team is agreeing to it, so they don't get a stipend, and that money can be used on somebody else.
Right.
And it's the rumor is, thoughts is that they don't want to get vaccinated or aren't vaccinated, and so therefore they made a choice. The MLSE is the first organization, at least the only organization at this point in the CFL, that says you have to be vaccinated to work for the team, and also now the fans as well. And I was telling you off air, I'm a little disappointed finding out some fans who aren't going to the games because they have to be vaccinated. Hamilton, I think, has it too. So, there are people who don't go to the games, and, it's kind of sad, Aaron. I can't find it in my heart to assume that people are doing it for the wrong reasons, but I can't assume they're doing it for the right reasons either. So that puts me in an awkward place.
I just find it very interesting that this sort of vaccine hesitancy is cropping up now, but it never cropped up in the first 14 years of your life when you had to carry a little yellow passbook in order to go to school.
I get it.
It's interesting how a little bit of freedom and access to all sorts of pictures of cats can deteriorate people's minds to the point where they no longer want to take the best interests of society to heart. And that may be an overly harsh and simplistic version of looking at it, but I'm quite frankly just done with it.
Hey,
if you don't want to get vaccinated, hey, stay home.
You're entitled to your opinion, just as I am. We're all entitled to our opinions. I'm just basically saying, it's not resentment, it's not anger, just regret. CFL suspends Riders defensive lineman Leonard 2 games for not providing sample.
Yeah, so this was an issue that cropped up. They have asked him to provide a sample for drug testing. This is part of the CFL and CFLPA drug policy. Failure to provide a sample resulted in an automatic 2-game suspension. It's effective immediately. If I recall correctly, it's also non-appealable. So he is going to be out for 2 games no matter what. Now, I'm not sure if this is in conjunction with COVID testing, but when they're referring to drug policy, I think they're looking for PEDs. So
yeah, they're looking for something else, a drug that's not allowed to be used while playing in the Canadian Football League. Now, do marijuana. You can smoke marijuana and still be in the Canadian Football League. That's not against the rules. So so it's something else. Whether I don't know if it's COVID, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he didn't agree to be tested, and that's nope, not allowed.
I mean, do his numbers point to anything that might indicate that he's on PEDs or anything like that?
Actually, don't even care. That whole situation. Don't even care. The league has rules. You don't want to abide by them. Don't play in the league. It's just that simple. This is the hair I'm splitting now with the fans and the players. You follow me? Yeah. If you're in a working environment, everybody who's working has, a fan can have a choice not to go to the game, as we're seeing. All right. So at the Atlantic Bowls event makes its return in Fredericton, of all places.
Yeah. So this is actually a 48-year-old bowling tournament that they weren't able to hold last year. So it's the 48th annual Atlantic Bowls competition. It wrapped up yesterday. And it included 16 teams from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, and PEI. So they had a absolutely fantastic weekend for it. They scaled it back to make things a little bit easier to deal with, especially in COVID. But just because of the nature of lawn bowling in itself, you can spread out enough to make it socially distant. So that wasn't an issue. They just weren't able to do it. But I'm glad to see that this tradition has continued, and they're planning on doing it again next year as well.
Not to be confused with the Atlantic Bowl and the Canadian Football League. The National Hockey League. The National Hockey League. That's why I put it there. The National Hockey League. Blue Jackets. People are all going, really? They're going back to the East? NHL. The Blue Jackets replaced assistant coach who refused to get vaccinated. That story again.
Yeah, it's that old chestnut. This league has rules. If you don't want to play by those rules, then, don't. But it's interesting to note that the player in question is Sylvain Lefebvre. Those of our more avid viewers, his name might appear familiar. He spent a few seasons with the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs, in particular in 92, 93, and 93, 94 with the Leafs before heading off to the Colorado Avalanche and New York Rangers. So he's refusing to get vaccinated, so the Blue Jackets have removed him from their coaching staff.
Nice. I was just checking here to see yesterday. I'm looking to see the Red Sox lost. All right. You know what that means, right?
We're one step closer. As a matter of fact, I think we supplanted the Yankees in the wild card spot.
Past the Yankees. I'm looking here to see how far behind the Red Sox we are. And I said we. Even with the Boston Red Sox.
Well, the Blue Jays scored 22 runs yesterday.
22 what?
22 runs.
Was that a touchdown and 3 touchdowns and a single point?
That it looks like 3 touchdowns and a rouge. Yep. So they actually scored 22 that day, which actually matched the total of their 2 previous games. So in the past 3 games, the Blue Jays have scored 44 runs. And
I think it's a record for them in a series.
Something like that.
By a little.
Yeah. Just by a little bit.
Good for them. And I didn't cash in my chips with them yet, but I was going, well, not looking good. Just a little while ago. Then they played Oakland and New York. And then they lost the first game to Baltimore and then won the next 3. So, so they're on a pretty good run. I'm not sure they can catch Tampa. I guess saying that all of a sudden in a couple of weeks, they'll be Tampa 1 game ahead. They're playing Tampa. They can pick up 3 games on Tampa in the series that they play them.
with a little bit of luck right here and right now, yeah, they can pick up a few. I mean, we're 9 games behind currently of the Tampa Bay.
Sweep
Of the
them. They're
Tampa
only
Bay area,
behind by
so
6.
yep.
And Tampa's been in a bit of a funk.
Yeah, they've been well. I mean, they lost their most recent game, but they haven't exactly been doing great in the last 10. They're 5-5, so they've been
Absolutely.
sort of seesawing back and forth. So
Not
the trot might be.
650.
Yep.
They're not playing 650.
Well,
The neat thing about baseball is you don't win every game.
now the Jays
6
were
to
hitting
7, 6 to 700 is a good clip.
Now the Jays were hitting 759 in yesterday's game too, so that tells you something as
Oh
well.
man, their third inning was like, I don't know. I think I watched a movie while they were doing the third inning.
Well, it's got to be hard on your pitchers too, because they've got to spend additional time trying to keep warm while you're putting runs up on the board.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that was no, it truly was amazing. I was flipping back and forth actually, and I was watching a movie, and then are they still in the third inning? It was weird. It was weird. Speaking of weird, everything old is new again. Ronaldo, Old Trafford return. He's still got it, baby.
Yeah, no, there's something about Old Trafford. Not sure what it is, but he scored twice with his Man U debut to bring him closer to 700 goals at the club level. This is one of those guys that just doesn't age. You know, it's fantastic how he's managed himself in such good shape that injuries aren't an issue.
He's a physical specimen. He is a physical specimen, and he's good looking too. Damn him.
He's got it all. He's got money.
Yes,
he's got physical prowess.
He's got everything.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh well. 1 out of
Can't
3
win them all.
ain't bad. 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
You have
new
money?
Indigenous.
Sorry.
Well, you wouldn't think it was the other 2, would you? New Indigenous Health and Healing Center opens doors in Winnipeg. Good news for our Indigenous brothers and sisters.
Yeah, this is really good news for the Anishinaabe. It's the I hope I'm not butchering this too much. Anishinaabe Minneyawigamuk Health and Healing Center, which comes out of a partnership between Island Lake Tribal Council and Four Arrows Regional Health Authority, as well as the First Nations communities Garden Hill, Red Sucker Lake, St. Teresa Point, and Wassagamak. Who, so that's going to provide healing and health resources for more than 15,000 Island Lake residents. This is, access that they didn't have before. So they've got their own pharmacy services, medical, dental, diabetes, and physical therapy services. It's long overdue.
About time.
Yeah.
Amazon Canada hikes frontline worker pay and plans to hire 15,000 more people. That'll put a big dent in Mr. Amazon.
Well, as it currently stands, they say they're going to be paying up to $21.65 an hour.
Woo.
And hiring up to 15,000 more people. So, the wage hikes are actually going to be immediate and will be for all current full-time and part-time staff, as well as new hires. Wow. Now, while the company doesn't specify what it means by frontline workers, it works out for across the board anywhere from $160 to $220 an hour. So we don't have any additional details as to what Amazon classifies as frontline workers. I don't know if that means for only its Whole Foods brick and mortar subsidiaries, or if it counts for the employees that work in their warehouses as well.
Or the delivery guys. Wouldn't a delivery guy be considered a...
Well, those are all private contractors, not necessarily employed directly by Amazon, so that could be a way for them around it.
Okay. All right, Canada election. O'Toole promises expanded employment benefits for parents mourning the loss of a child, miscarriage, etc.
Yeah, so basically, he says that his government is going to provide up to 8 weeks of paid leave for parents mourning a stillbirth and 3 paid bereavement days for parents mourning a miscarriage. How I can understand the desire for this, and I can certainly appreciate that. I'm not sure how this plays into the larger scheme of things, and I applaud the effort and the outreach, but I'm just not sure if it's going to move the meter at all for him.
Hey, listen, empathy is something that we should applaud. Being empathetic is a good thing. Speaking of empathy, survivors of the 2006 Dawson College shooting urge voters not to pick conservatives.
So this is something that was brought up today in a news release by the survivors and victims' families, specifically on the 15th anniversary of the mass shooting at the Montreal Junior College, which took the life of 18-year-old Anastasia D'Souza and also injured 19 others. The Conservative Party platform includes a section about repealing a May 2020 Liberal cabinet order that banned about 1,500 makes of semi-automatic firearms. So there, Haider Kadim says a vote. He was one of those students who was shot at Dawson College in 2006. Says a vote for the Conservatives is a vote for the gun lobby. A lot of them are behind this because the Conservatives are planning to relax those rules. It's obviously not something we want.
Yeah, another sad situation. Again, this is about women and violence against women. Western University investigates multiple reports of sexual violence over the weekend.
And again, Frost Week comes with all sorts of problems. And it started with a video of a drunk girl on TikTok who had been found assaulted and left crying and bloody on the front lawn of her residence. And from there, the story started to pile up and get out of control. And again, the issue here seems to be that the university doesn't seem to be doing anything and seems to throw the responsibility back on the female students who are being assaulted, not the male students who are doing the assaulting. So this is an issue of rape culture that definitely needs to be addressed. As of Sunday afternoon, however, the London police have said that, well, we've heard all of these stories, but nobody's come to us to tell us anything or request that we investigate. So unfortunately, we can't do anything.
Well, when it comes to, you're talking about bloodied, you're talking about physical proof that someone's been injured. That has to be investigated. It's a totally different story than an accusation. There's a clear victim, and I can't see the police standing for that. I don't see people in general supporting that kind of behavior. Speaking of behavior unbecoming of a constable, start of trial, Niagara constable shot by fellow officer postponed to Tuesday. This is cop on cop crime.
Right. So this is the start of a trial of a Niagara Region officer who was charged with assaulting a fellow officer who shot him 10 times. So that's been put off until Tuesday in Hamilton due to a COVID-19 issue. Constable Nathan Parker of the Niagara Regional Police Service has pleaded not guilty to assault with a weapon. Parker was charged after an incident. I don't know if anybody recalls us, but I think we covered this back in 2018, Frank, when we were doing an earlier iteration of the show that involved Detective Sergeant Shane Donovan. Both men were investigating a crash at the intersection of Roland Road and Effingham in Pelham, about 20 kilometers west of Niagara Falls. And that's when the shooting occurred. Parker left his post without permission, according to the lawsuit, and that's when Donovan admonished him for it, and Parker responded aggressively, whereupon Donovan shot him 10 times.
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anger management
issues.
Boy, oh boy. Conor McGregor tried to physically fight Machine Gun Kelly at MTV VMA Awards. Machine Gun Kelly has done some fighting, right? He's been involved in that kind of thing, but I don't think under these kinds of circumstances. Is it just a promo thing or is it real?
I'm honestly not 100% sure. It just looked like Conor McGregor tried to jump him in on the red carpet line on the way in. The footage is
WWE. Anyone?
He's given, honestly, Conor McGregor at this point, based on his antics and his behavior, probably should be cut loose from UFC. The problem is he's far too bankable for them to consider doing that.
Yeah, we do realize that is not a sport that considers itself politically concerned. We saw the president. We saw. Never mind. The former president. Before people. Okay. Advisory body recommends third COVID-19 vaccine dose for some immunocompromised Canadians.
This is what's becoming infamously known as the booster shot. amongst certain circles. But yeah, Canada's National Advisory Board on Vaccines now recommends giving third doses of COVID-19 vaccines to certain immunocompromised individuals. NACI has stipulated that moderately to severe immunocompromised Canadians should be vaccinated with a primary series of 3 doses of an authorized mRNA vaccine, which includes those from Pfizer and Moderna. For those who have already had a 2-dose series, NACI recommends providing a third dose, ideally of an mRNA vaccine, but this should not be considered a booster. This is just an extra shot to people who may have somewhat lower responses to their first vaccinations.
Yeah. Again, like I said at the top of the show, I choose not to judge, but I do understand the need. BC's vaccine card system takes effect. Cards now required to access some businesses and events, and many of those events are of the sporting variety.
Yes,
I would think, and music, and I could go on.
Well, the good thing is there was one particular business that was absolutely jam packed. They were worried about the potential of an incident once this had actually started to come into effect. But I think most people are realizing the necessity of this sort of thing now. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and right now the minority is making a lot of noise. It's the terrorism of the minority that is trying to hold the majority hostage. And over 80% of Canadians have had at least one shot now. So, as of Monday, anyone aged 12 and over who wants to access a range of things, and that's specified on the Health BC website, say they have to show proof of at least 1 dose, with a second shot required by October 24th. So there's still a little bit of leeway before Halloween.
The English newspaper known as The Guardian, they posted an article talking about a report that the Pfizer vaccine may cause heart enlargement in young boys, and this is a concern. I didn't mean to lay this on you as a surprise, but it just came into my head because it's part of the reason why, Aaron, I'm sort of not backpedaling, but I'm slowing my roll. This is something that parents need to be concerned about. An old guy like me who's just trying to make it to the finish line, and I can see it in the distance, I can be a little more risky. And this is the point I'm trying to make, is that if the vaccine has an ill effect on somebody, especially we have to consider young people, because they got to live with that ill effect for the rest of their lives. So I don't blame parents for being concerned, as long as we're looking for facts. Right? Because science is fluid. Scientists arrive at conclusions that sometimes change because the facts that roll in change what's going to happen. So anyway, that was in an article in The Guardian. It's a pretty reputable newspaper, I think. Ontario details rapid testing protocol for school boards at schools and report cases.
So as the school year starts to ramp up, of course, the reported incidents are going to be, in some cases, Ontario seems to be lagging behind when it comes to reporting.
Yes.
So they're bringing in more rapid tests so that these can be taken care of in a more expeditious fashion. It's overdue, but I'm glad they're finally taking some action on this. Now, as for the pericarditis and myocarditis, that is particular to individuals aged 12 to 39, usually appears within 4 to 8 days after the second vaccination. The incidence right now is 1 per 6.6 million doses administered. So it's a low percentage, but it is still there. Most cases of myocarditis and pericarditis were treatable and were usually resulting in discharge after less than 3 days. So that's a bit of a relief.
Yeah, no, and all I'm saying is that we all have to have open minds. We don't all have the final answer. When it comes to COVID, there is no final answer. Aaron, it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Frank.
My pleasure, trust me. Thank you, Aaron. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live. Aaron Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m., sometimes on Saturday when we can't do the Friday. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.